I could either wish that Washington worked more like Montana or that we could try to do something about it.
Montana's political landscape enters a new realm today as Montana Governor Steve Bullock officially announces his entry in the U.S. Senate race.
Tonight we hear from Bullock and bring you reaction from his Republican counterpart, Senator Steve Daines.
This is the most consequential election in my lifetime.
Tonight we bring you MTN team coverage from across the state as we move into what could be one of the most watched Senate races this political season across the nation. Well, good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger.
And I'm Janelle Slade. Bullock says political pressure from the Democratic Party is not a factor in his decision.
Bullock says it was a family decision to not stand on the sidelines.
MTN's Jay Cohn and Mike Dennison are standing by live from the state capitol tonight with the very latest. Gentlemen.
The Bullock for Senate campaign was up bright and early this morning. It was just minutes after 6 o'clock that his campaign on its website announced, in fact, Governor Steve Bullock will be a candidate for the U.S. Senate. Mike, this definitely has raised the stakes in this political scene in Montana and perhaps the nation.
Yeah, in more than a few ways. Of course, up and down the ticket in Montana, lots of money coming in, going to help Democrats all over the state with that ground game financing. But as you mentioned, the nation, perhaps more important, it's going to become one of the most expensive, most watched U.S. Senate races in the country.
Governor Bullock made it official Monday shortly after noon as he and his family strolled down the Capitol hallway from his office to the Secretary of State office, where he paid his $1,740 filing fee to become a candidate for the U.S. Senate. Afterwards, he told reporters that the nation needs a bipartisan common sense approach to tackling the big problems of the day, just like he's tried to take in Montana.
You look at some of the big challenges that we're facing, and they won't even tackle them. I think what I can bring is the experience of being governor of a state and actually having to listen to and work with people all across the state, and also work with people that we may not see the world eye to eye.
Bullock had spent months saying he wouldn't take the plunge to challenge Republican Senator Steve Daines. But he and his wife, Lisa, said it was a family decision to change course.
We felt as a family that there is something that is bigger and greater than the five of us need right now. We met as a family and asked kids for their input, which we took to heart. And we just made the decision as a family that at this time it's better to jump in and run and see what we can contribute. Not only for our state, but for our country.
Bullock kicked off his campaign at 6 a.m. Monday with a press release and video touting his accomplishments as governor. And within minutes, Montana was getting a flavor of what's in store. The National Republican Senatorial Committee released a blistering attack, saying Bullock wants to ban guns, impeach President Trump, and ignore illegal immigration. And a left-leaning group, Progressive Turnout Project, announced it would be sinking $750,000 into the race, hiring 26 field staffers in Montana to work toward Bullock's election. Montana State University political science professor David Parker told MTN News that it's just the beginning of what will be an epic battle.
If you look at all the people around the country that put money into races, so these are big donors, these are outside organizations, they're far more willing to take a look at the Montana race and decide, you know what, maybe we can put some money and invest in this race. Whereas before, that was going to be a lot less likely because none of the challenges had quite the reach or popularity that Steve Bullock does.
Republicans currently hold a 53-47 majority in the U.S. Senate. With Bullock's entry into the race, Democrats now have 5 seats they believe are possible flips that could give them the majority. But Bullock is far from a shoo-in for victory.
I think the first thing most of the viewers need to understand is that the advantage always goes to the incumbent, no matter how well qualified the challenger is. So I would still probably at the moment move the seat from a solid Republican seat to a lean Republican seat.
Daines and fellow Republicans have been preparing for many months for a possible Bullock run. And Senator Daines made it clear on Monday that he won't be backing down from the challenge.
This is the most consequential election in my lifetime. We're going to decide the next president of the United States. We'll decide who leads the United States Senate and thereby the future of the United States Supreme Court. This is a big deal for Montana. It's a big deal for our country. And I've always been consistent fighting for more jobs and less government and defending our Montana way of life.
There are other candidates in this race, Democrats, Republicans, a Green, and a Libertarian.
So as you point out, Mike, no lots of choices in this Senate race, but actually there are fewer candidates tonight than there were starting the day this
That's
morning.
right. We have 2 Democrats who have dropped out. Cora Newman from Bozeman, Wilmot Collins from Helena have suspended their campaigns and dropped out of the race. That still leaves 6, 7 candidates in the race, but as we know, yeah, the race is Steve versus Steve, Bullock versus Daines for the U.S. Senate. That's what we'll be watching. Reporting from Helena, I'm Mike Dennison along with Jay Cohn for MTN News.